Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket eights. In an unusual turn of events right now, everyone folds to me. So here I am on the button with pocket eights. I get to raise first in. Haven't had one of these in a while. So I raise the 3. We look at a raise first in range. It looks something like this. It's fairly wide. It's fairly wide. I'm making this as steals. Along with value, but you can see I have a lot more junk in my range than I typically do. And then we have both blinds call. This blind's playing tighter, 10-8. When we look at a small blind, it's 2 out of 22 is what he's played. He has called a 2-bet 1 out of 15 times. We have 173 hands on him. We do know that he calls 2 bets from the blinds, fives to sixes, and ace queen. He does donk flop, or he can donk flop. So stats, these are like the last 12 weeks or something like that. So 12 weeks before I played this, I only played 173, but it looks like I've played with him before that as well. So I'm going to give him a range that looks like this: pocket pairs, heavy in pocket pairs, and then some of these big cards that probably doesn't raise, but they're strong enough to where he wants to see a flop. I think the other player, big blind, is going to play something much wider. He's playing 68-28. I only have 26 hands on him. We don't have a huge set of information on him. I know that he calls two bets from the blinds with 7-6 and 6-4. So we've got 7-6 and 6-4 in his range. Again, if we have like 6-4, that's a suited gapper. He's going to have all the higher ones as well. When we look at the big blind, 33, 1 out of 3, VPIP, 1 out of 2, calling 2-bet. His stats just look like something, especially with another caller, he's going to be calling fairly wide. I'm going to give him all the ace X's, suited kings, all the Broadway hands, and so forth. So we see a flop of 9-8-2, which is good for us. This is definitely a C-bet for value. I think there's a lot of hands that are going to be able to continue. And I think I have a lot of hands that could continue. I have all of the straights, the straight draws, gut shots. I've got nines. I've got 9x. I've got 8x. I've got pocket nines, pocket eights. I think both of these guys have 8s and 9s, so I don't think we really have necessarily nut advantage. I mean, we have aces, kings, and queens, but on this board, I mean, that's just an overpair, and that could easily be outflopped. So both players check. I think that's pretty standard. I don't think this is necessarily a board we're looking at a donk bet. They're looking to face a donk bet. So I fire 4.5. That's probably okay. I think we could probably... yeah, half pot's probably okay. We could probably go a little bit lower, maybe to like 4, 3.5. A little bit more than a third pot. Both of these players look like, I mean, they don't have like a really small fold to C-bet stat. Again, we're kind of limited by our hand, or the number of hands that we have. So, 2 out of 3, he's folded. This guy's just folded 1 out of 1. So, we C-bet here. What are we going to C-bet with? I think we're going to be C-betting with top pair plus, probably middle pair. Our straights, straight draws, gut shots. I think we're firing these pairs. And then our 2-card backdoor flush draws. Definitely we're going to be firing these overs. All right, we're firing those overs. We're firing anything that could possibly connect with, straight potential. Maybe even all the suited X's. So those are all pairs. So we're going to give all of those obviously. Yeah, probably all of those. And then I think with our overcards, I know if we do all of them, that's going to be too much. I think we've got Jack 10, Queen 10. That's an open ender and the gut shots. Yeah, probably. So you can see that, yeah, we're about 2-1 bluff. We're c-betting a lot. I think we do expect to get called quite a bit, so I think we're gonna plan for a double barrel. But I think any overcard's gonna be pretty good for us. You know, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, maybe even like a 2 could be good for us. Actually, maybe we're way too wide, possibly. I mean, we still have a lot. Maybe it's these lower pocket pairs that we don't bet. Maybe it's the middle pair we check. No, because then our check's just gonna be like way too weak. We're never checking like some of our bigger hands. So I think, yeah, we're just c-betting this. So villain 3 folds. So we're getting rid of that hand, and then villain 4 calls. What's he gonna call with? I would kind of think that we're going to get check raised at some point. So if we don't get check raised with the sets in 2 pair, I think that's definitely rather getting check raised now or later. But I think he's definitely calling theirs. He's probably definitely calling middle pair. Probably calling with your straights and gut shots. I'm not going to say calling with over pairs at all. Maybe he's calling with these under pairs and maybe the bottom pairs, but at least something like that. So he's got something. He's got some hand. We go to the turn 7. 7 hearts isn't necessarily a hand that I wanted to see because 10 jack now hits. 5, 6, probably less of a concern. He would, I mean, yeah, the gut shot could connect, but it's a little less. I think 9, 7, 8, 7 helps because 2 pair. So he checks, villain 4 checks. I think that's going to be pretty standard for him. I bet half pot. We might be able to have sized up a little bit. Apply more pressure. That's going to fold out more hands. And I think the open ender is going to call, like the 1 card open ender would call if I sized up. So I bet 9. If we go up to 12, I think he calls. I think he calls with those ranges. So what are we doing? We're betting the straight. I think we're still betting the sets in 2 pair. I think the over pair we still bet. I think the top pair, I think now we can kind of check here. And maybe even checking some of our other overpair hands. We're betting those, and then I think our flush draws are going to be calls. Our open enders are going to be calls. And our gut shots. Ooh. I think what we're setting up here is I think 1 card gut shots. That's with our jacks. Yeah, we're setting this up. So I don't like betting. I think the top pair, I think the over pairs are probably okay as a bet, but then top pair, middle pair, weak pair, I think those are all checks, and I think these reds are also all checks. And the reason we're making them all checks is I don't want to bet and then have him, like if I bet 9 and he comes over the top to 27, I can't realistically call, and I'm giving up this equity. He may have a straight already, but my flush, if I improve to a heart, hey, I'm going to beat him, and we'll probably get one more bet from him. And that's I don't want to see that happen. I'm kind of thinking maybe that's going to be the same with the over pair and the two pair. You know, maybe even the sets. I think we still have to bet our straights, and I think this is where the sets are coming in, because if we bet the set and get raised, we can call with the set, because he could possibly be doing this with, you know, a 9-10 or 7-6. You know, now with the pair, but I think I would. A set and two pair, these could possibly be a fold. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So, you know, balance what I'm playing, and we're going to change this. I think we can check like aces, kings, and queens, because we're not too worried about getting outdrawn on. We're betting the 10s and jacks. Two pair, I think it's a bet. So, and then we're looking at like the one card gut shots, possibly, where if we're behind, we could still connect. They could still be our bet on the river if we miss. So I think that's going to be our betting range. And he just calls. So at that point, I think the straight could still be there, but I'm going to say the straight has reason to check raise here for the flush. I think same thing with the set, although he does look passive, so I guess we're going to have to include those hands in there. Top pair probably is calling all of those. Middle pair, I think, gives up at this point. Flush draw calls, open ender, 1 and 2 card. I don't think flush draw, so I think we're looking. He's looking at a range like that, and you can see he is going to be ahead of our range, because he's got top pair and he has some draws. River's 10, just bad card, a bad run out. Villain checks. I think he's checking everything that he has, and then it comes down to us. What are we going to bet? Do we bet the straight? We are, but we're not going to bet all of the straights. We're going to bet our jacks. We're going to try to get some value from a 6. So we're going to bet those, but we're not going to bet any of like the sets or two pairs, weak pair, ace high. So if we're going to bet our jack highs, then we're also going to be betting probably like our ace high hands just as a bluff, try to rep it. But I think exploitatively we could probably just check behind. There is a possibility that he had a heart, that he had, let's say, ace 10 of hearts, picked up the heart draw, called, and then he connected with top pair, missed his heart. If we bet again, it's possible he could fold. So yeah, I think if we're going to be betting, we're going to probably be betting ace high in the weak pairs just to kind of balance that. I still think we're betting jacks, but I think we're fine checking all the rest. So I did check. We showed trip 8s. He shows 6-7, so he shows the bottom end of the straight. Do I have that in his range? Yeah, we've got that in this range. You know, he called with the open ender. He caught bottom pair. He called again because he still has the open ender, and then the 10 hits. And that's just like the obvious draw. So that's kind of why when we get to the river, it's probably okay just to check everything. I think we go for some value with that check, with a situation that I think a player like this is a 10 NL game, player's probably going to call with that bottom end of the straight. and then you take his money and say, I don't know why you called that. So how do I think it played? I think bet sizing could be improved. I think bet sizing on the flop could have been sized down. I think anybody that calls half pots also calling smaller size, and vice versa. If you bet the smaller size, they're still going to call the larger size. But I think there's going to be a lot of hands that connect with the middle board that could make our hand tough to play. So if we look at what cards could come, Queen, Jack, 10, 7, 6, and 5 are all cards that could kind of connect with the straightish type cards. I know I said anything like Jack or higher is going to be pretty decent for us. Yeah, it is. It kind of gives us could the potential for an overpair if we're only up against like a 9x or 8x. But I think overall, if we think about straight cards, it's a lot of straight cards that could come on the turn that would really make our hand difficult to play. Unsure of, should we continue betting the turn? And if we do bet the turn, what do we do if we get check raised? So I think we could bet smallish for a little bit of value, knowing we're going to get called. And then on the turn, if we had a favorable card, I don't necessarily if that's a favorable card. If we had like a 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4 ace, 2, 3, 4 ace king. If one of those cards come, then instead of doing half pot, we could size up a bit more, still expecting like open-ender to call, and now expecting the heart flush to call, and hopefully call without the odds. And then we go for the river. We could always check behind if a straightish type card falls. Yeah, we lost it. Bad run out. 7 to 10, just horrible cards to run out, but it is what it is. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.